Hey, guys, it is Allison. I am the host of your show, Allison Answers Mission Awake. I cannot wait to sit down with you today and go over how we are going to crush the mediocrity in your life that has been plaguing our society since the beginning of time. I cannot wait to have a real deal conversation that includes intelligence, fun, excitement, and real actionable steps to make a real difference in the life that you're living now and making it into something you can be damn proud of and excited to live. Sit down, put on your damn seatbelt, and get ready for the ride of your life. Hey guys, how are you today? We're going to talk about my greatest guest. I always love having Mike Fallat on, and I cannot wait to introduce him. As you all know, when I talk about Mike Fallat, I am a big fan of Fallat. Fallat went from shithead to superstar. So basically, Mike Fallat is somebody who I admire, I respect. I think that anything that he talks about, you can get something from if you're the type of person who gets things from things. If you're not, then you're not going to get anything. So whatever. But anyhow, Mike Fallat is my book publisher, and he has been a support for me for quite a long time. Just a little quick backstory is that I started not knowing anything about writing a book or anything. I always knew I wanted to. And then I was in a group with Mike Arate, and we got on a call, and he ended up explaining to me what his process is in publishing a book. And on that call, I just cried. I don't know if you remember. I cried because I was so moved by what you were saying and what the process was. And it really felt like it was really going to be a really moving and spiritual, and also an a smooth process. And it was. And in the midst of all of that, we did the work together. And then I had this tragedy happen where, you know, my husband suddenly and tragically died. And then Mike kind of, you know, gave me almost I guess a year extension. I guess it was a long time, but he was just kind and gracious and understanding. And we changed the name of the book. And the book wasn't about my tragedy, but it was just infused in the whole process. So what I love about Mike is that he's so dynamic as a person. He's so engaging and fun, just fun as a friend. You're so funny and fun, and you have such great energy. But what it is that everything he touches turns to gold. Like, he just creates shit, and then he explains it and helps other people make their dreams come true. And that's what he does. He creates his dreams, and then he helps other people really realize their dreams. And it's funny, I'm not just saying the word dream because you're DreamStarters. That's the name of one of his companies, but he's just an amazing dude. So just, you know, I'd like you just to really listen in and hear and imagine as Mike speaks that anywhere you are, you can be at your best place. And that's what Mike represents to me, anyhow. I know to more people too. So Mikey Mike's bad boy of books.
Hey, it is an honor to be here. And I just wrote that down. Shithead to superstar. That's my next book idea.
I could come up with shithead to super. I could come up with something better if you give me a few minutes.
Oh,
even more sassy than that.
But that intro, I'm gonna snip that out of here, and I'm gonna send to all my ex-girlfriends so they hear just you boasting about me. That would be amazing. So thank you for that. That is awesome.
Burn them.
And it is all about the power of story and the hero's journey, right? You can eventually transform. And you said that shithead to superstar. Obviously, you know, it's a never-ending struggle to constantly reinvent yourself. But to go from where you were maybe 5, 10, 15 years ago to where you really want to go, if you can identify that target and just pursue it, maybe it's 1% increments, and maybe you become a little bit more articulate, and maybe you become a little bit more refined and more professional. And then you have all these breadcrumbs behind you. And then you get to meet incredible people like you and help them get their story out there. It gives you a little bit more confidence that you're on the right path.
You know, I'm going to just say this one quick thing because I know you know this story, but I feel like it so relates to you. And if you don't know it and aren't using it, I want you to use it because you're going to love it. The story with Martin Luther King, when he was about to do the speech of, I had a dream.
Mm-hmm.
And Michaelia Jackson is in the front row, and he was really super nervous because all of the background behind where he was speaking, no one could tell this, when you look at the speech, but it was a really bad situation for him. There was a lot of traffic going on with people all over. He didn't have a private place to do his speech, and he was very, very nervous. And Michaelia Jackson leaned in and she said, "Martin, tell him your dream."
No.
Martin, yes. Tell him your dream. And then then it's like everybody has a story. Everybody has a dream. And when she started going, "Tell him your dream, Martin, tell him your dream." And he's like, "I had a dream." And it's like, it rised up in him. When you have a shithead in the audience who's just like looking at you and everything's wrong, you're like, I can't say anything. You have that person who's telling you, you have a dream, like you have a story. And that's you. Like you tell people what you have to say is important, and I think that we all have that. And that's what you did for me. Like you helped me to like see that. And it's a process. Like I'm ready to do my next book because I feel more confident because it's a learning experience.
Oh,
like you
you
really
learn
grow.
so much about yourself, don't you?
Yeah. Yes.
And I think
like
the
so
clarity, and maybe you
yeah.
could speak to this. I always think that, when you write a book, it's great because it does help you with like authority and credibility and influence. But more so than that, I believe it's the internal clarity and the market clarity, right? So clarity in general to me is the most valuable thing. If you know who you are, where you were, and where you want to go, and the market does also, the battle's half won.
It's incredible. And you know what else? I'll tell you something interesting. Even if someone misinterprets your book, maybe misinterprets where you're coming from, not knowing the process, like that is even a growing experience. Like if you say something the wrong way, let's just say, like, that you don't even, it's like, to me, the whole process is an internal and external process. It's also like showing yourself to the world and then accepting yourself. So if I show like the fear, I remember when I would first talk to you, I'm like, I don't want to tell people about me. Even the idea of promoting yourself, because promoting a book feels like you're bragging, but in actuality, we're taught at such a young age, like we're programmed. Well, I can get into that whole shit, but we're programmed to really, really never to hide our greatness, to never find it, and to never tell anybody about it and pretend it's not true. And the book, like you brought my book to a bestseller. So now it's like the gold seals on it. Now, like if I'm going to promote it, it's like it's saying it's okay to be great.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah, to be a superstar instead of a shithead.
Hey, being a shithead's fun though, guys. You gotta admit, being a shithead's fun. It doesn't get you a lot of results, but being a
shithead also could be good.
It's
you could showcase being a shithead too.
Hey,
right?
I'll be honest. I probably would have had a lot better luck with women in high school and college 100%. If I was a shithead.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
So
women love shitheads.
Shitheads, right? I think maybe mid-30s, late 30s, they start to realize, whoa, what's up with this whole shithead thing?
No,
I'm
they
not
don't.
into this anymore.
They realize it, but they keep going for another good 10, 20 years. Seriously, there's people so old who are still doing it. They are.
That's why I think guys get it out of your system early on, right? But then start
Women
to refine.
Expect it.
Yo, well, I think
Sorry.
It's just there's probably something psychological we could talk about that's going on there, but it makes sense. I think the reason why they like the shitheads is because they act like they don't care. And what I realize is that maybe there is something to be said about people who just do what they are born to do. And there is that authority that comes along with, man, that person's on their own track and they're doing whatever the hell they want to do. And that's attractive. Maybe early on, it's kind of misconstrued where assholes and shitheads are perceived like that. But, the nice guys obviously are doing the stuff that's in accordance with people pleasing. And whenever you try to please everybody, you end up pleasing nobody, including yourself. So maybe they are into something early on. So I'm not going to knock all the shitheads out
No,
there.
I couldn't even, I have to just really just disclaimer. I actually really, really believe that. I think a lot of men are misnamed that. And I think it's because they are on their path. And because they're not going to betray themselves in order to please other people. They're going to be, to me, that's what we all should be doing, because you want to be a whole person before you're in a relationship. You want to be a
Yes.
real person and discover who you are and your greatness. It's so ridiculous to then try to find your happiness in someone else.
Man.
And it's actually, then you're selling yourself short. If you're trying to get a guy to fill you up, that means you're not filled up.
Bingo.
You don't
If
feel
your
worthy enough.
source of happiness is external, you're
Yep.
done, right? You're going
Done.
to be done eventually.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And you nailed it there. I don't know. I mean, the person I am today as compared to 10 years ago, complete 180. I was always thinking about oh, what will they think of me? Oh, geez,
Oh,
if I do this, then I'm gonna lose her interest or whatever. That is going to be a recipe for failure. So now it's just I know myself, and maybe this just happens with age. I don't know, but I know myself to such a high degree that, hey, if you don't like it, see you later. Like that is power. But I don't know if that's ever going to come to you early on without a lot of trial and error and maybe that friction. Right? There's a great quote out there by Seneca that says, in order to get a pearl polished, you need friction. And the same thing is with perfection in a man or a woman. You need some type of friction to get the best out of you. And so maybe that just takes time. And the more friction you put yourself through, the more refined you become.
It's funny that I just did this post, actually a podcast, solo podcast, and it was about that. And it's about like how to destroy a relationship, but that relationships are made, iron sharpens iron, social man sharpen man. And like relationships are made to bring out the greatness in us. And when there's a healthy friction that then is talked about and you utilize that to accelerate who you are. So like, oh, I'm feeling this. Now I'm not going to point at you and blame you. What I'm going to do now, oh, I feel jealous. So now I'm going to accuse you of shit. That's ridiculous. How
Ooh.
about I feel jealous? What is happening? And what did this give me an opportunity to feel that is already inside of me? This has illuminated my insecurities. So I need to look at what is it about inside of me that's causing me to feel this intensity, and then saying to the person, hey, I'm having this intense feeling. I know it's based in my own insecurity. Could you help to reassure me? I understand that it's not you. Now right there
Mm.
you have harmony, and you learn about yourself, and if the other person really is cheating, well, you'll find out anyhow. It's just whatever, and then you discovered more about yourself, right?
Yeah, well, you made me think of something there, and maybe you
Tell
could
me.
touch on it from a psychological perspective, because I'm a big Jordan Peterson fan. Are you a
Oh,
Jordan
I
Peterson
love
fan?
him.
Okay,
Oh,
so
yeah.
he talks about the shadow that's within everybody, right? Are you familiar with this phrase? Carl Jung mentions it in his book,
Yes. Yes.
The Shadow. Okay,
Hmm.
so a man or woman, I guess, he always says man, but a man will never know himself and never be any good to a woman until he's able to conquer himself. And in order for you to conquer yourself, you need to go to the depths of hell, and you need to look in the mirror and figure out who you really are. And there's so much dark energy within a man that unless you conquer that, you'll always be a slave to it. And so whenever you realize that every man has teeth and claws, and if you can just get that under control and use it whenever it's truly required, and you have the power of that, it's like those individuals who are martial artists. They get their monster under control, and that makes them better leaders, better fathers, better husbands. And so the moment you're able to do that, and I did that right around 2016, 2017, isolated myself from everyone, went down into the dungeons, saw pure hell as I was starting to build this business, and confronted all that dark energy, dark thoughts, and then got a control of my inner monster, if you will. And that made me a better person, because then I was able to actually tackle bigger monsters as time went on with bigger business ventures. So when we're talking about people who are trying to get the best out of themselves, you really do have to conquer yourself. And I guarantee when you meet with some of your clients, maybe they haven't really confronted their inner monster and have taken control of it in every way.
I have so many questions because, and maybe you don't want to answer it, but what would be one of your monsters that you saw?
So I used to think that if there was somebody out there who was, doing evil upon another person, I used to think that they were just that's a person who's truly evil. That's not me.
Mhm.
And then you get pushed to the brink of pure hell, and the thoughts that go through your head are, man, I can do some damage. I want to do some damage to this person. And so it's almost like, man, that person's no different than me, except for they acted on those beliefs. They didn't control their inner emotions. And so if I could think really dark stuff, what's another person able to think who's totally unstable? That is scary. That kind of taught me a lesson like, wow, I could really fall victim to these dark thoughts of vengeance. When somebody screws you over financially or hurts your career or whatever, you start to think, okay, now's the time I'm going to lash out and get justice. And then it made me look into the mirror and say, well, this is not going to help my family, my legacy, my future. You ask yourself all these really, really tough questions. Well, I've been given this gift of all this anger and all this fuel. Maybe, and with a lot of personal development, maybe this is the biggest blessing ever. I can reinvent myself, but this is all energy pointed in the right direction, could be the greatest source of fuel for the rest of my life. And that's what it was. It was either, holy shit, I could go and seek vengeance and hurt these people, or I could become the best version of myself possible, make lots of money, change a lot of lives, be as influential as I really want to be, and accomplish all my dreams. So, all these things that happen to you, it's almost like a gift. And if you're not mentally stable, or if you don't have the wherewithal to say, wow, this is a gift, rather than I'm cursed, I'm the victim, you might be able to respond in a very bad way that's going to hurt a lot of people, most importantly, yourself.
I'll tell you something. What you're saying is so powerful and so deep. I just could go forever on this topic because this right here, like, there's so much to it, but I feel like nothing changes ever until you know what it is. Until
Mm-hmm.
it becomes what it is, it cannot change. So if you have that darkness inside and you don't know what it is, but it's leaking out and it's named something else, then you're not harnessing what is actually inside. So I think you're talking about that, right?
So here it was 2017. And just to give you an idea, I went through basically, you know, a, at a corporate job and went to make some moves. And, some people stepped into my life and said, you're not allowed to do this, this, and this. And so it turned into a court battle. Okay. So
Yeah.
I went really into severe debt because of this. And so I went to start my business, and I went all in on the business, and it was the greatest thing ever. Then I'm looking around and I'm in serious debt. They're about to shut off the water. They're about to take my house. Well, they do. My water does break, pipes break. So I have no water, no sewage for over a year. And I'm in this cold house, and it's just really scary. Like, the house was scary. I mean, I owned it, and it was just so devastating to me. And I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, the people who hurt me with that ability to like earn a living at this corporate job, they're the enemies, right? And so I looked at them as like, oh my God, you put me here. You put me here. Oh my God, what? And then I started to shape up and say the good things to myself. Like, wow, you know what? I have no safety net. I have nothing to lose. I have only to gain here. And it was like the reinvention of me. But it was, if you look at videos, I'm telling you, in 2017, there are videos of me on YouTube. I am not happy, and my eyes are different. My body looks different. My
You were
skin looks
cold.
different.
You were
I,
cold without water.
I was individuals will meet me and say, I looked at old videos of you from back in the day. You smile a lot more,
Mhm.
because then I was so locked in. I was so focused on survival that I wasn't even like human. Everything was just, my mom would say things and I just wouldn't even hear it because I was so focused on growing the business. It makes you cold. Eventually, you got to get those human emotions back. But you need to like overcome those really dark days. And you could sense it in people's eyes for sure.
Yes, you can. You know what? I'll tell Mike, the thing is, when you describe, your house, it's almost like I feel like at that part, that was that dark part inside of you. It's like your house. Sometimes our house is a symbol of us. It is. It's a representation.
God,
Yeah.
is that the best way to put it? You just nailed
Yes,
something. I
it's
love
true.
it.
Yeah. It's you know, when you look around yourself, it symbolizes what is happening inside. So that will always tell you what you're thinking, what you're feeling, and where you are in your life. When you look around, just get a snapshot of all the different areas of your life.
I just got
But
chills. I swear to
yeah,
God, you nailed something there. And if maybe you can explain this, I've never really
yeah.
said this to anybody,
Hmm.
but I remember thinking in 2017, totally alone. The girl left me, right? I'm struggling financially. I remember thinking to myself, if I were to symbolize what I look like in some type of form,
Yes.
I symbolize like a spiky ball. Like
Yeah.
whatever I would hit, I would just try to knock over. I would want to hurt, right? I was like spiky. That's the way I looked at it. Like if I
Yeah.
symbolize like some type
Yes.
of image,
Yeah.
now I look at myself as like a round smooth ball. It's just
Yeah.
really weird how
Yeah.
now I see myself just snowballing and snowballing and getting
Yes.
bigger and bigger. But before
Yes.
I was like I don't know, like with a lot of spikes on me. That's way the only way to explain it. And I don't think a lot of people want to be around someone who symbolizes at a spiky ball.
No.
You're
No.
not welcoming. You're not warm. You're out to destroy rather than to create.
And you don't roll.
You don't
There's
roll.
no
Oh,
momentum. No, the spikes you get stuck. Like you can't roll, you get stuck in the ground, you know? And, you know, if you think about the things that were happening in those moments, I think it's having either an internal locus of control or an external locus of control. Do you want me to, should I
please do. I have
expound
no
on
idea what
it?
you're talking about with
Yeah.
that.
So basically, an external locus of control is that I am here now, and it's because of you, and I'm going to blame you, and I'm going to tinker around outside on you because I'm going to change everything about you to save me and what's happening inside of me. That's external locus of control. An internal locus of control is look at what's happening around me. I'm in this house. What is it that's happening inside of me? Because we have no business trying to fix an internal problem by tinkering around outside. Until we can fix what's outside, you can still go sue that other person or whatever. You first have to get your shit right inside, because clarity is king. How can you master what's happening outside if you don't have clarity? You cannot.
Ooh.
So yeah.
Yeah. So you're saying like all the stuff that I was thinking,
Yeah.
it was all external. That's exactly it. And what I really had to do, and I know I did it, was go inside and say, what put me here? Why?
Exactly. You abandoned
Why?
yourself. Your house was abandoned. There's no water. Water is symbolic of spirit. Water is symbolic of God. Your pipes burst. Your house is dark. Where's Mike? Mike's gone. Now you're driven, going down to resolve it, you know, with vengeance. Vengeance is mine, saith the Lord, right? Here I'm going down my scripture road, but you know,
Yeah.
I mean, really, the truth is that really the power that we have within to go inside to conquer that monster inside of us, the greatest power, the greatest force on earth is love. But love is not gushy. It's very strong. Like a freaking, it's fire, it's water, it's power, but we think it's weak. So really the greatest power, really think about and I have another thought, and I know this is you, we were supposed to be talking about you, but that dark part of us, every single one of us, Mike. I ask people, I do this exercise with people. I used to anyhow. I'd say, okay, I want you to list all the when you show up as your worst self, you just described it, spiky ball, all the shit that you were.
Yep.
Now I say, when you show up like that, and then when you show up as your very, very best self, what are you? They're like enthusiastic, confident. I love people. I want to be around them. I want to help others. I want to give, right? So now that's our best self. People will say, oh, I saw my true colors, or I saw Mike's true colors because I saw that dark part of him. That's not your true colors. It's not your true self. That's your survival mechanism. That dark part of us is something that's been abandoned and not known. Once you know it and you manage it and love it, you can do anything.
It's there for a reason. And what I realized, right? All of this is there for a reason. And if used properly, right? These are all tools. You can use a tool to build a house, or you can use the tool to destroy something. That is it.
Yes. I did note that you talked about tools just now. Why do you think you talked about tools? Is this a therapy session?
No. Why did I bring
I
up
know
tools?
why. You know why too.
All right, go
Your
ahead. No,
childhood.
I don't. Because why?
Your childhood. You're like, wait, what? Don't bring this up now. Cut this.
Oh my God. All right.
Your childhood.
All right. So maybe this kind of leads
Should I
into
not
it.
say it?
Please do. I mean, I really don't know exactly. I'm thinking of.
I remember your childhood better than you do, Michael.
Let's hear it. I mean, this is very
what
interesting.
What would happen if if I remember you dropped a tool of your dad's?
I definitely, yes.
Okay. If you didn't use the tool properly or whatever, your dad was a fixer guy, right?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
What happened to you with tools?
So, okay. And maybe this is, okay. So I was always trying to fix something, and my dad would come in and say, I'll just do it. Right.
Yep.
So I never was able to learn and screw up. We didn't have the money. So if I did screw up something, it would be really bad. So,
but when you broke, right, it would be really bad. That's a belief system. It would be really bad if I screwed this up. Right.
Yes. And then I learned with this business.
Sorry.
I had to, this is great though. I had to break a lot of things to fix it, to figure it out. And I learned from trying and failing and then never, ever, ever stopping till I get it right. So
100%.
Part of it, my childhood, was fear of messing up.
Yep.
Only when I was completely on my own, financially, away from everyone, I was able to start tinkering with my life for the very first time, all on my own, right? Credit scores dropping like crazy, about to lose the house, nobody to rely upon, nobody. My parents had no idea what was going on in my life, no friends to rely upon at this point because it was really, really dark days. And so that's whenever I realized what I'm capable of and what I really wanted to do. So I had to break things in order to fix them. And that's probably what you're alluding to.
Yeah. And you know what else? If you think about it, it's kind of like the law of polarity or contrast. Now you have this unbelievable dark, dark time. But basically, what does that dark time do? It gives you the contrast. We can look at, this is what is happening. When we are in an experience with something we don't want, what I do is I say, okay, I know I don't want that. And now we don't focus on what we don't want. Most people do. They focus on what they don't want. Now, thank you so much for showing me where I will never be again. Thank you for showing me that now I'm going to create in this direction a lot of water and beautiful homes and a lot of like this shows me everything I don't want in my life. We think it's not a gift. It is the biggest gift. It's, like you're saying, it's a crossroad. Victim or like, oh, thank you for pointing to that shit. This is a great experience for me. It made you who you are.
When I identify the person that I was in 2016, I was weak. I was insecure. I was afraid to tell people what I truly believed, politically, where I was going in life, how big my dreams were.
Well, that's changed.
And you better believe it. But it just goes to show you, and you really touch on this. When you are that person that's shallow and basically just unknown of really who you are as a person, everything around you, including your house, is empty. 100%. And whenever it has to take a train off its tracks for you to realize that your life was built on a lie. And the moment you realize that, wow, I got here because I lived a lie, I lived a life that wasn't in accordance with my wishes and dreams, that's when you say, I'm never coming back to this place ever again. And then that is when you have the power to say, all right, I'm going to dress this way. I'm going to date these type of people. I'm going to be worth this much money. I'm going to drive this type of car. And I have the confidence to get up on stage and talk to anybody at any time. And you start building slowly. It doesn't happen overnight. You probably can attest to this, that when you fix yourself, it takes a long time for it to manifest in the reality.
And when it does, it's exponential. It's compounding. It's just like just morphs one thing after another, right? It's like networking with human beings. But like you would not be you today without that darkness.
No.
It's not even possible. I mean, that any person, Mike, look at all the books that you publish, all the people, that every greatness, the backdrop, it's like a tapestry. You have to have the black in the tapestry to see all the beautiful colors. It's not possible.
Ground
So it's,
zero moments.
yeah.
They're the greatest thing that ever could happen to you.
Mm-hmm.
Individuals who went through a divorce,
Yep.
or lose a business,
Mm-hmm.
or go through something very tragic. We have people who have been in car accidents, and it was just the life-changing moment in their life. And they
Yeah.
realize what they're here for, right?
Yes.
Tony Watley, our mentor, says
Yes.
that there was a car accident on a racetrack that helped him decide where he needed to go in life. Why is it that we need to be facing danger or uncertainty for us to change? I don't know why, but these ground zero moments in our lives are there for a reason. This is the time to rebuild and become the person you are meant to be. So it might force you to get on that podcast, create that business, write that book, whatever it is, use it to your advantage, because that might be the time where you let the light out for the very first time in your life.
And like, where did we learn? Like, I know you're such a big proponent of saying how we've been misled. Like, I know we've been misled. We've been led to be mediocre and never know the truth, or not think for ourselves, not create for ourselves. We're taught that at a very young age. Mistake averse society. We can't make mistakes. We're graded on mistakes. So it's like, what do you think? What do you think were the lies you believed? And now, well,
we could go
careful. I don't want to get canceled.
Is this 24-hour podcast? We could go on for hours about this.
I think we should, you know what we should fucking do? Excuse me. We should do like a freaking marathon. Let's get like a stage and just like go all out, like 24 hours. I'm tired. No, you can do it. Like, have one guest after another.
That's when the best ideas will come out, right? The shit that we are keeping inside of us will come out in that 9th hour, right?
No, I'd be crying. I wouldn't make sense. But anyhow, so what do you think? What do you think has broken mediocrity in your life?
Okay, so I think we first get the lies from school system,
100%,
and religion. All right.
Yeah.
So
what are the lies, Mike?
Okay, so school system. Let's start there. Mistakes are bad. I can't believe. I mean, I was always afraid of getting a C or a D or failing a test in school. I mean, I was always like, I'm not that smart because I'm a B student, right? And I never cared about school. So I never really put in energy. So it had nothing to do with smart level. I was just totally distracted in school.
It's no learning because you're not excited in discovering.
It's exactly right. It didn't play to my strengths. So I was always afraid of making a mistake. So I would always do the bare minimum, I guess you could say, to get a good enough grade. And that may mean just cramming the night before. So I think the school system teaches you, don't act out, don't get attention, don't make mistakes, right? Well, that to me is the recipe for failure in entrepreneurship. Hey, if I keep who I really am to myself, I'm going to get bad clients. I'm not going to have a great team. I'm not going to be able to show my passions to the world so I can really fix problems. But if I don't make mistakes, then I can never learn any greatness that I could put out there into the world. So I need to make mistakes to refine myself to become a better version. And so you start to realize the school system is just keeping you in this dim box, right? It's very dimly lit. Like you're alive, but you're not really following your passions, all that. So I think it starts with the school system. Then let's get into the religion, okay? I am a Christian, all right? I grew up as a Catholic my whole life. My whole life, I went to church every Saturday or Sunday. I would never miss my whole life. And then I start to realize, like, it's not getting me anywhere. I don't feel close to God at all. Every time I go to church, my favorite part is the homily. It's 2013. I'm in dire straits when it comes to financial responsibilities also, and it's just really bad. Every week they're saying for the homily, which is supposed to be the greatest part of the mass, hey, we need more money. The whole thing was about money. I'm sick of struggling for money and then coming here to be closer to God and then having them just ask me for money. So I just felt like I was disconnected. And then I started going to non-denominational masses. And I realized for the very first time, Christianity or faith in general, I mean, if you're not a person of faith out there, or a big believer, just faith in general gives you a superpower, right?
Yep.
And that was for the very
100%.
first time, 2015, 2016, started to have this connection to God in years, probably. I mean, it was really, really wild that I felt like I was connected. So, when I look back, Christianity, non-denominational, was all about power. God is power. When you start to read the Bible, and I read the Bible
Yes.
almost every day now,
Mm-hmm.
it's power. It's standing up for your beliefs. It's truly believing in the word, so you're not afraid. You don't have any fear. 2020 exposed that a lot of people who are believers in the church are deathly afraid. They are scared stiff. They are not true believers. And so when you look back at Catholicism, you find out that, hey, they're saying Christianity is weakness. Stay weak. Don't fight back. Don't raise your blood pressure whenever people do evil. No. I'm telling you, when you have a faith and you're strong in your faith, it's a superpower. So you walk a little bit different, right? You start talking to people with more conviction. And I think that the Catholicism lie of its weakness, combined with the school system saying that mistakes are bad and don't get attention, all of that those are two things that I've known as probably the biggest lies that I bought into that made me a less human being into my adulthood, for sure. Those are just two. We could get into even more when it comes
There's
to
so many.
even how people are being lied to upon about, big pharma and all the other stuff. But those are just two to
Yeah.
start with.
Yeah. And you know what? It's the thing is that it's the shaming of being a human being who's a co-creator with God. We're shamed to not be anything bigger than the person next to us, always be small because of the jealousy or comparison. Like we always have to be, so I have to be like the crowd or I'm shamed. It's like to shame the kids out of excellence. I always say, like, happiness isn't a sin. We're taught that happiness is a sin. If I'm seeking happiness, that's a sin. How did that happen? How did that become that seeking happiness is selfishness? If I'm happy, I'm going to be so much kinder to you, Mike. I'm going to be such a better person to you. I'm going to be more generous. Where did we learn this bullshit? Happiness is not a sin. I need a t-shirt. I'm making that hashtag. Happiness is not a sin.
But abundance is what you're alluding to.
Yes.
That's a great point. How many people are told in the church, even, or certain faiths, money's bad? The school
so
system
dumb.
even says it, right? The happiest, most successful, biggest givers that I know are so full of abundance. And guess what? You can change a lot of people's lives with more money. And so if you live in this abundance,
people, I'm sorry, shit. We should let the evil people have it instead. Then that's a good idea. We're just going to let you have it so you could run the whole show.
Yeah, it's bad. Okay, if I make a lot of money, then it's bad. That is being talked about within school and within certain religions right now. Do you realize that? That is so scary.
It is so scary. And it's that there's not enough. So you're always in a state of it's not enough. So therefore, you must, and then we got to give it to people. So then we cripple them. That's another whole other story, right?
You're talking about whenever it comes to even certain welfare programs, right?
Yeah, I'm a little afraid to talk about it, but yeah, when somebody needs to, what makes us feel good? It's when we can create ourselves, is when we can create work, responsible acts, produce self-esteem.
That is a huge note to talk about right there. Church and school, I don't ever remember them saying you could be whatever you want. You can make as much money as you want. We are creators for a reason. If we are born in the likeness of God, we are not takers. We are givers. We are creators, right? Mm-hmm. And if we can create money and opportunities and more potential and more acts of kindness, we are creating our whole lives. And so it's never out of our control. We are constantly in control to fix whatever. As long as you have that mentality that you're a creator, then I can create abundance everywhere I go. I can create opportunities, relationships,
right here,
all before it starts. It's exactly right.
Two creations right here. It starts here. And also we're multipliers. You know, if you look at anybody who's dividing people or less than or any of that, multiplying, yes. I start with yes. Can you help me? Yes, probably.
That's a great way.
Probably can.
Yeah, the people who are always dividing, right? They're always saying it's someone else's fault. How many times you turn on the TV? I don't watch TV. I'm sure you don't either.
Neither do I. No.
But if the people on TV are saying, well, the reason why you are where you're at is because of those people, and they're not paying their taxes. And you're right. What's happening here within politics, because that's a whole nother ball of wax. Within politics, they need to create victim-minded people so they have your attention. And so they're the solution. You're not the solution for your own life. I'll be your solution. And what you're creating there is a bunch of scarcity-minded individuals. You brought up a very good point where there's not enough money for me. Of course there is. They just printed $1.7 trillion in the middle of the night. There's money going around left and right.
I think we should print some.
What happens is
same thing.
You start to wake up every day saying, I'll never be this. I'll never go here. I'll never become this person because of X, Y, or Z. And this is a program that you start to play in your head, and it does take years to break away from. So something in your life has to happen for you to shake that out, but you need to reprogram yourself, because as of right now, and you probably can identify whenever it comes from 5 years old to 8 years old, how much programming is actually being done in those 3, 4, 5 years that it's really tough to break away from. So the earlier it's put into your brain, the harder it is to get away from. So that's why I think so many people are getting screwed over in life. It starts very young.
0 to 7 years old, we're in a theta brainwave, which is the hypnotic state. So basically, it is a literal hypnosis. So because kids have to learn to read, write, talk, all the things. So it's necessary programming that's filtered in with all this other unnecessary programming. And I love the quote by Alvin Toffler that says, the illiterate of the 21st century are not those who cannot read or write. It's those who cannot learn, which is that programming, unlearn and learn again. That's what you're talking about, the monster, going in and get the monster.
Yep.
This is what I've been programmed to. This is the darkness. Now I'm going to take that and I'm going to learn again. And now I'm going to create. But that's the illiterate of those who are not thinking for themselves, who have never unlearned this program and still operating in it. Right. One other thing, as therapists, psychologists, all of us, or anybody, I'm a drug and alcohol counselor too. One of the things that we teach everybody who is anybody who comes to therapy is about codependency. Our government is completely codependent, because basically what I tell people over and over again is, if you take a person, first, I will give my shirt off of my back for someone who's suffering. And I'm not saying we shouldn't give to people. I'm all about giving to everybody. But when you take a person and you say to them, listen, I'm going to do this for you. Basically, the subtext that you're saying to them is, I don't believe in you. I am communicating to you that you are not capable. And if I continue to do it, the reason that I'm giving to you is because you do not have what it takes to do it. So now this message, now the addict or whoever that you're helping to continue to be an addict, you never let them hit a bottom, you never let them crash, and then they end up dying because you didn't let them have the smaller suffering that they needed to have in order to get better. So it's a very serious matter. It kills people to wipe their ass.
Yes.
Sorry, but it does.
Right. You just said it there, where once you take away someone else's ability to be their own solution, to go and do this for themselves, you are robbing them of greatness. You're robbing them of 100%. Their own potential,
of who they are as a human being. And you know what? Everything comes to like that ground mindset. So like the mindset is, if I have the mindset, and everybody here, our culture is, there is always a solution. You may not have found it, but it's always there. And it may be multiple solutions, but there's always one. So if you know that there is always a solution, if we communicate as a people to other people, you have this horrifying problem, but I know there's a solution. And you know what? I may not know the solution, but you can find it, and we can find it together. Like there's always one. So then people know that I just got to dig in. I got to find a way. Right.
Well, and you said something there that
it's like you're interviewing me.
Yeah.
Holy shit, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
this is your podcast?
You said
Wait,
something there.
Whose podcast is this?
Hopefully I could use this because this is that good.
Use it. Yeah.
If a person wants it bad enough, there's always a way. And I think that those individuals, like you're saying, that come in and say, I'll do it for you. Don't do that. We'll take care of you and all that. You're never getting someone to ask the really scary and deep questions. The Socratic method is the greatest thing ever because the answer is only as good as the question that you ask. And so every problem that comes into your life, if you just start asking yourself question after question, you get to the real answer. Always. And I think that people who never have that question prompted, like, oh, I'll just take care of it for you. Or I'll do this for you. Oh, just take this pill. Don't worry about anything else. Here, just take this. You never really start asking those really deep questions that get to the real answers. And those real answers are the gateway to a whole new life. So, yeah, I believe in what makes the book creation process so powerful is that you might be asking yourself or having someone ask you a question that you never thought of ever. And then all of a sudden the light turns on, you say, oh, wait, like you asked me a question. What happened when you were a young kid when it comes to tools? And how did your dad handle it whenever you broke something on the motorcycle? Well, that probably stays with you. Oh, that's where I get my fear of making mistakes from. Okay, it makes sense. Now I'm aware of it. And once I'm aware of it, now I can be very, very mindful of it in the future. Yes. And I'll never become that person again.
Yes. So then you'll hear that voice. So you'll make a mistake because that programming, that wiring stays a little bit. So like you'll hear it, but then when you see it, you say, thank you. And then it's just like, it's like a cloud going by. Oh, I know that voice. I'm no longer that. I am this. So it's like everything after I am identifies us. So if someone's like I am unemployed or whatever, I am this, but then that becomes that's their identifier, right? Mm-hmm. Then they're robbed of wisdom. They're robbed of like the drive. It's like a tragedy. Yeah.
Well, you listen to people's speech very closely. I mean, your speech manifests itself into the world. There's no doubt. 100%. So those people who say I'm not enough or I'm fat or I'm broke, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? You are going to create that. And it's, I mean, Dr. Joe, you're a big Dr. Joe fan, right?
Totally.
Dr. Joe Dispenza.
I lay on the floor with Dr. Joe for decades, all the time.
We might have talked about this before because you always make me think of Dr. Joe, but your personality creates your personal reality.
Yes.
So what you're saying, and then there's a great, I don't know who it was, Bob Proctor, I think he says.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Not many people know who they are. And so when you hear people say, this is my leg or this is my arm, well, who are you? And you'll say, oh, I'm Allison or I'm Mike. Well, no, that's the name you were given by your parents. Who are you? Exactly. And how many people never ask themselves, who am I? Like,
they don't.
What are my strengths? Who am I really at my core? Like, what do I really want in this life? People don't know. You're a spirit that has this body. You're not a body that has this spirit. Yeah. So you need to ask yourself those dark questions or scary questions. Who am I? And not many people want to find out sometimes who they really are, because it might mean they have to change their circle, how they dress, their job, and everything about them, because what they realize is that, oh, I've wasted all this time. Now, to people like us, we want to get those answers right away because it means it'll save us time in the future.
Yes. And it's like it short circuits. I ask people that, and I just keep asking, but who are you? But who are you? I'm a mom. But if you weren't a mom, would you still be here? Well, yeah. Well, okay. If you were, if I wasn't in this, if you weren't in this room, do you still exist? Mm-hmm. And it's like this, really becoming that wise observer. When I'm in my body, I do this thing all the time where I zoom out. So I tell the therapist, zoom out. You got to climb the tree to see what's happening. You got to know what's going on around you. And we're in this body. You zoom out and watch what you're saying. Notice how people are experiencing you, and just because that right there is a superpower, because it's you letting your spirit, your being actually be in charge. and be observant of thoughts, feelings, and all of that, and then recreating them. Oh, that's happening because of that. You know, and there's all the subtext too. Like in a conversation, if you and I are talking, right? This doesn't happen with us because I don't feel this way. But let's say I was talking to you and I was like really hyped up, which I usually am when I'm talking to you, and I was like, hey, blah, blah, blah. But if I don't feel this way, but I do feel it with other people, but I don't really feel it with you. But the subtext could be when someone's acting like that, it's like, please like me, please like me, please like me. So you want to be the observer who actually hears what is the message? What is the subtext underneath? Right?
Yeah.
So like when you were in that dark house, right? Mike was abandoned, honestly. You were not even there. The soul, your personhood wasn't there because somehow you didn't believe you could be there. I'm not sure. You weren't worthy or something. But now, so like if you were to say like, what was the subtext? Like, what were you saying? You were hiding. You hid from everyone, right?
I was high. Oh, there's no doubt. I was in hiding in the real world. Virtually, yeah. I was starting to get very vocal online, but I was in hiding in real life. Yes.
Yeah, and hiding is shame, right? What is hiding? I don't know.
You just said it though. I didn't feel enough. The girl I was dating, and that's why she eventually left. I was always like, why is she with me? I'm broke, right? I'm not enough, right? So I can analyze who I was, and it's the greatest way for you to learn that everything is a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you feel like you're not enough, expect for you not to be enough. That's it.
Yeah, and whatever girl you're getting right now, I'm not talking about you, because you with the girls, for God's sake. But anyhow,
we can go into that. That's a whole nother podcast.
That's another shit show there. No, but he's a great guy. Like, girls, you should love him. But anyhow, just one at a time though. But anyhow, but no, I'm not saying you're not bad. I know you're not. If you look at your life right now and everything that you have, because you have a lot, and you feel energized, you feel great. Like I can see your spark of life. And I don't even want to put that in the air, but I'm kind of loosely saying, like, without everything that you have, that you've created, like, and it was all gone, which it will never be, but if it was, who are you, Mike Fallat? Without all this shit. $1 Million Book, the DreamStarters, the whatever the agency you have, the friends, you have such a network. There's so much. People love you.
That's awesome.
I know true.
Yeah. So I realized. All right. So to answer your question, I realized that all of the stuff around me now is really a representation of what's in here. I mean, I feel right with God. All right. You take me to somebody barge into my door right now and shoot me. I'm happy. I've had a good life. I'm right with God. I know where I'm going. That's the way I look at it. My family, I fixed, my relationships with my family. So I'm right with my family. But more so than anything else, I guess, is I'm right with myself. Yeah. I now am able to get up on stage or online and tell everybody what I truly believe, or on a podcast. That to me is a very, very successful life without fear. All right. I don't care what you think, right? I don't want it to offend you, but if it does, so be it. This is who I am. The other way of living is a lie. And the last thing I want to do, and this is the Ed Milet philosophy, is to get to the next life, heaven, however you want to look at it, and see the person that you're supposed to be, and it be very different. And that person is much further along than you are. And that to me is the scariest thing ever. So whenever I think of myself now and my identity, hey, you know what? I'm okay with working from here and then going into the woods and riding on my motorcycle and just, hey, I'm right with God, right with my family, right with myself. And the people around me, they sense that. So I have real friends, a real community. It's real all the way through now. And I think that is the greatest way to define a successful life. I know people, and you probably know them too, who are billionaires potentially, but very, very high net worth. And you can look at them, you can hear their voice, and they have no idea who they are. They're not right with God.
Yep.
They've cheated on their wife. They're not happy with their family. Mm-hmm. And they've made a lot of mistakes in the past. So there's a lot of corruption. They've sold their soul to get to where they're at. That's an unhappy life for a reason. it's all built on a house of cards. And now something else could just brush it right across and it's gone. But when you're right with yourself, right with your family, right with God, you just walk differently, right?
You do. You do. You know, it's like, I always think of like that. I don't know why this keeps coming to me. Maybe I'm supposed to say it. It's like, you know, when like Jesus, like the first time a whole crowd came to get him, and it was before he was captured and then killed. He just he just walked right through them. And I think about, like, you know, Napoleon Bonaparte says, like, you know, I lay hold of my vision, obstacles must give way. It's like when you have that like grounded sense, like it's just out, like obstacles and things that can't really do anything. Like it's not possible. You can walk, you're if you know where you're going and you just keep your eyes on that, that the other things just fall away. And I do think that when you're right with God and you have that like sense, it's almost like a bliss. Like I know, like it's almost like, even though the manifestation of bliss is abundance and it's money and it's connections and all these wonderful things that come when you're in that stream of well-being, you know, it is well with my soul. I think that when you have that, all those things come just naturally to you, but you don't need them as much because you feel, because the goodness is the feeling state is the thing that's calling it. So it's all, you're there before it comes, right? So
You're not happy if, or you're
right.
not happy when, you're
Yeah.
happy. And all the other stuff is just, it's great, but
Just
it doesn't make you any
comes.
happier almost.
No, it can't. Because you know what, because I am certain, I know you believe this, that you are the dream maker before you're the dream maker. You're the starter guy first, then the dreams, then the outcome comes. Just like you were the broken guy, unworthy, before all the pipes broke. That happened. Your pipes broke and your house was dark before it ever got dark. You know that.
Yes.
It was broken. And that's the thing. Like, I have a reverence for my thinking, because what I'm thinking today is going to show up 3 months, 6 months, 9 months. I don't know, but I better build some good shit now because, right. It does show up, our sense of self.
Yeah. So it's basically your path has led you to this point. But
Yes.
basically everything, like you said, that shows up in your life is based off of this path you've been walking for a very, very long time.
Yep.
And all it is a symbolism of your path was wrong, right? That's all it is. And
Yes.
and if you have this mentality that you are a creator and you can take control, this shouldn't be a scary thing. This shouldn't be a
No.
victim thing. This should say, well, shit, if I've been on the wrong path and I chose this, maybe I have the choice to get off this path and go a different way. That should be the greatest feeling ever. And I can fix this. And
Power.
what's even more amazing about this is that if I fix this, and when I fix this, probably the best way to put it, when I fix this, I will be an example for others to fix their life. And
100%.
you want to get a little bit spiritual with me? I think
Do
this
it.
is the best way to look at it. Reading the Bible, I have this the dailies, right? It's just
Mhm.
one day, day 57, day
Yeah.
58, and it talks about the Old Testament and the New Testament. So you're not reading them separately; you read them
Yeah.
pretty much together. What I've realized that if I were able to boil down what the Old Testament's all about, one word, it's sacrifice, and it's usually sacrifice to something bigger than you, right? So if you analyze that, you're like, oh, this book is really just about sacrifice for something bigger than me, a purpose, a God, a higher power, however you want to look at it. And then the New Testament is service, right? If I just live with service for others, not think about myself, I'm going to have this great impact and have a great life, and I will be completely fulfilled. So
Mhm.
now if I live with, okay, sacrifice for something greater than myself and serve others, this these two pieces together will make a complete life. And that
Yes.
means that maybe I went through a lot of shit, but this mess that I created becomes my message, as people say.
Mhm.
And in the future, now I could preach from actually bad times that will
Yes.
resonate with others and be an example. So now I'm sacrificing my life for a higher purpose, but I'm serving others through my own story.
And I love it because you die off in that sacrifice.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, that old part, whatever, it didn't work. So it's like, it's like a lot of shedding of self, become, that we want God to be more, and he increases, we decrease, right? So it's like all those layers of ourselves that is not our higher being for the highest good, starts to just, I think it's really cool. Like the more you suffer, I don't want to suffer more. Let me just put that out there. But the more you suffer, and the less important it becomes. So it's like, so let's say for you, like, a girl comes into your life who's just like everything that you want. And then there's this one glaring thing that sucks that you can't have. I mean, how often does that happen? I hear that all the time. That's like common.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what I always say, that one thing that sucks, right? That just showed you what all those great things that she has, you want. You got that covered. You're worthy of it. That one thing that she sucks, that's the thing that you don't feel worthy of yet, or you don't know you can have, or you haven't said, oh, let me shift. Yeah, I say yes to having the good part, whatever that's missing there, right?
Yes.
And it's like, so then every I'm using it as an example. I mean, I'm not using anything that's real. I'm just saying, like, every girl is an upgrade. Everyone.
Ooh.
That's what they are. So, the girls that you were with earlier, they must have been a representation of what you could have then. And now it's like they'll get more and more. But then let's say I know that you went through, I mean, maybe I shouldn't say, well, we can cut it out if you want it out, but like you're in a freaking hot girl stage, like forever, which is cool. You should have a hot girl. But I mean, just mean like, like sometimes, maybe like the hot girl could like then not also have the intelligence or the personal development, or like maybe she's really super jealous and insecure, who knows, whatever. But whatever those things are, you can have the hot girl, but then the intelligence, the personal development, like, do you know you can have it all?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you made me think of that. I mean, I guess there's a saying about it, but whenever it comes to pain or suffering, it's like a flashlight on something in your life that either needs fixed or needs
Yes.
avoided. But that flashlight gives you this clarity and makes there's less decision fatigue, right?
Yes.
Something's got to be done, right? Yes or no, do this, whatever. But there's less decision fatigue. And once you have that flashlight on this problem, at least you know it's there to either avoid it completely, like maybe dating some batshit crazy girls, or saying maybe there's something about me that I need to fix, and I need to fix it in order to get these type of people to find me valuable.
Yeah, but you know what it is? Everybody's like, well, girls are crazy, or this, and they blame outward about the person, and then they're trying to fix, oh, I'm going to look for them here. No, 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 no. You look for them in here. You create in here, you become the person who has that person. So I want to thank you so much. All of your information is going to be in the bio, which and also in the notes. But can you tell people, like, I just want to thank you. I love talking to you. I think you're
This was so much fun. I love these type of conversations.
Yes.
I don't have this with many people. Usually it's like, hey, just break down your business and how can you help people write a book. I love this. This to me was so much fun. So I would love to do this again. Just talking about life and psychology. And I guess maybe that's what you realize when you talk to so many people. A lot of individuals are either very like business oriented or physical, like I guess physical, like they about the body and health, or psychological. I always think that no matter what, the body, the business, everything else starts at the mind. So that to me that's why I'm fascinated with these type of conversations. And I'm just really excited to be on this with you today.
To the degree that we personally develop, it's to the degree that you can be successful. That's it. Bottom line.
Yeah. So when you get around high performing individuals, you realize that everything is a limitation in your brain. And the moment you're like, oh, wait a second, there's another level and there's another level. Running a 6-figure business, very different from $1 million to, an 8-figure business. So it's all based off of the limitations within your mind. And maybe you just need to get around high performers for you to start to see the equation and say, whoop, this is what I'm lacking. Oop, I'm missing out on this system. Oop, that process. But it all begins here. So that's why I love talking about this, because if you get your mind right, you get your life right.
So you get the systems. I'm sorry, this is it. I'm going to go. But the systems, you get the tactics. Because I know you do that when we listen to people, like we've been in the same circles, we listen to the people and we learn how to do things. But you learn what the way that they're thinking, right? Right? Think higher.
Oh, yeah. Well, oh, that's a great point there. So when you start to ask people, the great ones, questions, the great ones are able to break it down into step by step, very simple takeaways, right? Easy to understand. The ones who don't really understand the process are talking like it's very complicated and they're not able to communicate it very well. And what that teaches you is that, okay, if someone's able to break something very complicated down into simple terms, they truly understand it. And then
Yes.
that's how they can affect change on you. And if
Yes.
you can just
Yes.
adopt that within your circle, within your tribe, that'll make you a better speaker, a better leader, a better manager, but more so you have more influence. So whatever you
Yes.
say, more activity comes from it.
Yes. It's really good. I want to thank you so much. I'm sorry I took so much of your time, but I would have tried to take more if I could have. But
It was so much
uh
fun. Thank you.
tell everyone where they can find you, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, dreamstarterspublishing.com if you want to just take a look at the business, if you want to learn about how to get a book done and maybe turn it into multiple revenue streams with automation and all the other crazy stuff that comes along with elevating your name, your brand, and your message. So there's that. Or if you want to go to get a copy of my book, $1 Million Book, go to milliondollarbookpro.com. I'll give it to you for free. Just pay for shipping.
Yeah, and he has so many books. And also, I do recommend writing a book. If you have it in your heart, everybody has a story to tell. And it's really incredible, life-changing experience to write a book, especially with Mike Fallat.
Yeah, thank you
Yeah,
very
it's
much.
true. I'm not just saying it. Okay, so thank you again, Mike, for everything. I really appreciate you. So nice talking to you.
Great
It was so
talking with
much
you too.
fun.